Hello everyone. This is Ms. Supriya Mohan Patil from Vivekananda College, Kolhapur. I welcome you all for this presentation on psychoanalytic criticism. This is part 1 of it, where we are going to deal with two concepts, psychological criticism and classical or Freudian psychoanalytic criticism. Let's go for it. Psychoanalysis got developed by Freud as a means of curing neurosis, means mental diseases, but later on it got applied to varied fields, including literature. Then it has emerged as one of the most popular literary critical theories, and as any other critical theory, it has gone through many stages and developments. Students always get confused between these two terms, psychological criticism and psychoanalytic criticism. What is the difference? Psychological criticism treats literature as an expression of state of mind and structure of personality of the individual author, whereas psychoanalytic criticism is application of psychoanalytic methods to interpret and analyze literature. Now let's see psychological criticism in detail. It emerged during the early decades of 19th century. It is basically an application of behaviorist and cognitive theories to interpret literary text. The major practitioners are Thomas Carlyle and John Cable. An example of psychological criticism can be a book named On Healing Power of Poetry, published in 1844. It is a series of Latin lectures delivered by John Cable, where he defines poetry as an expression of some overpowering emotion which is otherwise repressed. Key traits of psychological criticism. It asks psychological questions about the character's behavior and motives behind that behavior. It refers to author's personality to interpret his literary work, or it refers to literary work in order to establish the author's personality. That means it tries to establish one to one relationship between an author and the literary text written by him. It is a reading of literary text to experience the individuality and consciousness of the author. Now let us turn towards psychoanalytic criticism. Psychoanalysis was established by Sigmund Freud as a means of analysis and therapy of neurosis. Concise Oxford Dictionary defines psychoanalysis as a form of therapy which aims to cure mental disorders by investigating the interaction of conscious and unconscious elements in the mind. Psychoanalytical criticism uses some concepts and techniques of psychoanalysis to in interpretation and analysis of literary text. How these two things got connected, a medical therapy and literature? The answer has been given by Freud himself. Somewhere he says, if psychoanalysis helps us to better understand human behavior, it must be able to help us better understand literary texts, which is about human behavior. Peter Barry has told two phases of psychoanalytic criticism. First is classical psychoanalytic criticism, and the key figure is Sigmund Freud. Second is post structural psychoanalytic criticism, and the key figure is Jacques Lacan. Now let us focus on classical phase. As I told you earlier, it is also called Freudian psychoanalytic criticism as it is based on the theories put forth by Sigmund Freud. For them, literature is a fulfillment of wishes denied by reality or prohibited by social standards. According to Freudian critics, literature has two contents, overt or explicit content and covert or implicit content. Then, what is the task of psychoanalytic criticism or critic? It is to find out the implicit or covert content hidden under the overt or manifest content. How to do that? By using theories put forth by Freud, which are scattered in all his critical essays. These critical essays have been compiled under these books. The first key book by Freud is The Interpretation of Dreams. Freud's 1899 book, Interpretation of Dreams, where he introduces his theory of unconscious, and it also bears the seeds of an important concept, that is Oedipus complex. The second key book is Beyond the Principle, Pleasure Principle. This essay, published in 1920, marks a major turning point in Freud's theoretical approach, where he goes beyond libido or eros and develops his drive theory, which elaborates death drive. Next key book is Totem and Taboo. This is a collection of four essays and it came out in 1913, in which Freud applies his theories to varied fields like archaeology, anthropology, and study of religion. The fourth book is Three Essays on the Theory of Sexuality. It is also a collection of essays where Freud discusses childhood sexuality, puberty, penis envy, castration anxiety, and Oedipus complex, and many other critical concepts. Now, these key concepts play a vital role when we are interpreting a literary text from a psychoanalytic point of view. So let us see some of the concepts. The first and very important concept is the mechanism or apparatus of human mind. According to Freud, it has three elements: id, ego, and superego, and it has three levels: unconscious, preconscious, and conscious. As you can see in this diagram, the whole of it is in unconscious part of it. Some part of ego and superego is in conscious part of it, and the majority of ego and superego is in unconscious part of it. That means big part of human mind is unconscious. We do not have entry to it according to Freudian critics. Now, what is this id, ego, and superego? Id is an unruly bundle of instincts, impulses, and desires, and it is motivated by pleasure principle. On the other hand, superego is internalization of standards of morality and propriety, and it prohibits and obstructs the id. So, this battle between id and superego goes on. What is the solution then? Ego is the solution. Ego is a conscious mediator between id and superego. It is moved by reality principle. Ego negotiates between insatiable demands of the id and impossibly rigid requirements of the superego. How does it do that? By providing limited possibilities of gratification offered by the real world. Other concepts: psychosis, which is result of the conflict between conscious and unconscious mind. Libido, according to Freudian critics, libido is the driving energy of the life. Whatever a man does, he is motivated by libido or eros. Infantile sexuality: how a sexual drive in the infant is triggered and gets developed. It is mostly related with infant's relationship with its mother. Oedipus complex: it is male infant's sexual desire to remove his father and become the partner of his mother. Dream analysis: as I told you before, we do not have any access to unconscious part of mind. Only in dreams we get glimpses of it, and that too in a very symbolic way. Other concepts like transference, projection, displacement, and condensations are techniques used by human mind to replace what is socially unacceptable with something that is socially acceptable. Transference is redirecting emotions to substitute figure. In projection, aspects of one's personality are attributed to another person's personality. Displacement means symbolic substitution, and in condensation, several events or people are combined into image in order to decrease its intensity. Now, examples of Freudian or classical psychoanalytic criticism: Freud himself has reread Shakespeare's major dramas like Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream, where he has applied his theories in order to explain the action or inaction of the protagonists of these plays. Freud also has analyzed Dostoevsky's brother Karamazov. Freud appreciates Fyodor Dostoevsky's brother Karamazov as this novel explains very well his concept of Oedipus complex. According to Freud, the parricide in the novel is actually a reflection of the Oedipal guilt of Dostoevsky himself. The next work is Freud's Delusion and Dream. In this article, he has analyzed the novel entitled Gradiva by a Danish writer Wilhelm Jensen. Freud considers this novel as a prime evidence of the fact that Oedipus complex is still active in normal adults. The third and an important work is Hamlet and Oedipus complex, written by Ernest Jones, where he uses the concept or the theory of Oedipus complex in order to explain Hamlet's inactivity. Conclusion. So, classical psychoanalytic theories provide logical and effective techniques for interpretation of literary texts. It bears some similarities with psychological criticism as it also tries to search the roots of literary text in the psyche of author. But these theories were severely criticized by their post structural successors, especially by post structural and feminist critics, and that we will see in our next presentation. This is the list of reference books that I have used to prepare this presentation. I strongly recommend Krishnaswamy's Contemporary Literary Theory, A Student's Companion. He has explained psychoanalytic criticism in a very well manner and in a simple manner. I hope you have liked this presentation and the concept of classical or Freudian criticism has got clear to you. Till the next presentation, I take your leave. Thank you so much for your patient listening.